It's always so strange to sit and entertain, and I love it because as I get older, I get a little more tired. However, today we're going to blend two things. Some of our music, yes, but we're going to tell you a few things about ourselves and our experiences with our Lord, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Since I'm the eldest, and I was the first to discover him, and I'm always disputed with that with my younger sister, who says that she saw him before, though. Okay, I told you. Here we are.
I'm the referee.
Okay. But we're originally from New York, as was mentioned, and I moved out to California for a short time. I was with the airlines for a brief time. And my sister, unfortunately, was in college and could not get her transfer in time. So while in California, I happened to see the end of a picture called The Lost Years of Jesus. And at the end, now mind you, this was the beginning of the 80s, okay? And the style was the fro, the afro. And I saw this marvelous, magnificent person doing what I later became known to me as the Vibhuti Abhishekam. And I saw him do all of these miraculous things, and it was mentioned that, who is doing things like Christ these days? And at the end, they show him. And I know many of you must have seen this film. And I was so impressed, I picked up the phone right away and I said, April, there's somebody out that I've seen in a little village in India somewhere that's doing miraculous things. They say it's like Jesus Christ, and I've seen the miracles on the film. And couldn't find anything else about him. My sister finally moved out. We lived there for almost 7 years, and then we started going through one of the worst crises of our lives. And that wasn't one that I'll bring up at this time, but it did deal with finances, and we were always very comfortable until that one particular time. And I happened to ask her to go to the library and get a book because it was an Easter weekend. Easter 1985? 86. I always do that because it came after the death of a good friend in 85. And I was very saddened by that, but as a result, we had been left a great deal of money and three tractor-trailer trucks, which we knew nothing about. Okay. And it seemed to just all go out in 1 year. All of the money, things that were being done for the partner in this business after his death, they said, well, your price is this. And so pretty soon we had no money. We didn't know what we were doing with them. And Easter was coming up, and it had gotten so bad that I said, look, I can't even get you guys outfits to go to church. So we're just going to stay in. I'll make a nice meal, and we'll read a book. Now, I'd already told my sister 7 years earlier about this little guy with the fro, and he's all this miraculous stuff. And my sister goes to the library, comes back, and there's this book, Baba, by who? Arnold Schulman. How many people have ever heard of that book? Isn't it wonderful? We read that book from cover to cover. And at the end, we were saying, oh gosh, this is so good. I wonder if he's still alive. And there in the back, it said, property of the Hollywood Center. Where were we? In California. So right away. And when he calls you, it's like you have no control. The only film that they had to lend at that time was one of Darshan. And we had to watch that film night and day. It was like magnetic. We were all day. And finally, it was getting to a point financially that we felt we had to go home. And my sister and my son at that time, I had a younger son, I have 2 sons, and I decided we would go back to New York. But when we came back to New York, I was used to having good jobs there. I left working with the mayor's office and so forth and so on. I was due to come back to the state for a job. And when I arrived back there was a big front page issue saying, job freeze, nothing. So there we were with nothing. And really no one to stay with, because even relatives, after a while you're like fish. After 3 days you're no good. So we had just a bit of money and the trusty American Express card. We did preserve that. And I asked my sister, because we had our relatives said, well, I can take you and you can put your son here, and we don't usually split up. But we were so, taken with Baba. We'd begun going to every center in California. I mean, I think they would look and say, oh, that's them again. But it was a wonderful experience. And even before getting back here, we had one center that lasted 1 year. And it was almost like a training ground, because each one of us went in different directions. Some people went to Las Vegas, but the whole center dissolved, and we came to New York. And I said to my sister, I don't like for you to be staying someplace and Chris and I staying someplace else. How would you like to go see Baba? And she'd never traveled anywhere by herself. And sure enough, with, I think, $100, American Express. This is, he said he's going to take care of us, and we believed that, of course. And away she went. And she will talk about that, perhaps, in her next, in the next session, which will be tomorrow. But that's our introduction so far. And of course, my brother's introduction comes even stranger, because I think that's mine, and I'm so sorry, guys. Very, very sorry. I am trying. Okay. My brother knows these things. But in any case, he, of course, when we came back to New York, thought we'd lost our minds. We're talking about pie in the sky and a guy that's trying to get your soul. And why are we doing this? And he has a very interesting story to relate, and I think he'll tell the first part of his right about now.
Okay.
And how he got and came to Baba.
Well, my sisters were staying in California. I was in New York, and I was, I was living the life of a New Yorker at the time. Unfortunately, though, we had suffered losses early. My parents, both parents, had passed. They died young. My father passed when he was 49. My mother passed when she was 53. And April was, I believe, 5 and 11, respectively, when each one passed. And after they passed, Audrey took in April and acted as a big sister and a mother to her at the same time. And I felt comfortable with that, because Audrey was always very sound of mind, and she would move ahead in a positive way. And she had the youngster, and they were going to do well. They decided to go to California against my advice, as I said earlier, but they went, and we were bi-coastal. They were in California, and my older brother and I were in New York. Mm-hmm. Now, during that period of time, though, I'm going to make this a little bit more concise. Those were very difficult times in the United States. You got to remember, from the 1960s on, there was a dramatic revolution of events taking place. The Civil Rights Movement. In a short period of time, just to give you an example, my father passed in 1967, and a person who I admired nearly as much as my father, Dr. King, was killed 1 year later. And so, as a young, proud African-American youth standing up in the Civil Rights Movement, I felt really like I didn't know which way this country was going to go. And I began to think that there was a hopeless situation. And I just gravitated towards other things as well. I worked hard, but I began to do something, smoking marijuana. and with a friend of mine, and we continued doing that. I continued doing that, and I experimented with some of the other popular things, the pills and things of that nature. And never did any needles because I never could stand needles no matter what. But I had been doing that, and in 1988, when my sisters came to me and said, "We are going to go to India," I had been smoking marijuana and other assorted illegal, illicit drugs for 20 years. And I said, "You're crazy, you're cracked, you're going to, you know." And they said, "No, we're going." I said, "You're going over to see who? Some guy in India? You're going over because he's got an afro and he's, and you say, what? He's supposed to be who? God? Excuse me? Has there been a loss of mind? Is there delusion going on here?" However, they were intent on going. I looked at them, and they kind of reminded me of the pictures, the religious pictures where the people are like, "Oh," and I said, "They're lost." I said, "But if they're going to go, I'm going to travel with them because I'm not going to see anything happen to them." Now, today, I was much thinner then at that time. And I also, at the same time I was doing these drugs, I was also doing martial arts. I was doing it for a long time. And I said, well, if they go over there, I'm going to go with them. And if anybody steps, in the parlance of the street, anybody steps to them, they're going to deal with me. So we traveled, we got to India, and I was shocked by the juxtaposition of what life was like in the United States. We did a brief stop in Singapore, which was fabulous in terms of material wealth. And then I went to southern India, and it was like, oh my God. So I was like, why am I here? And on top of that, just to make a little aside, when I traveled with them, I had decided I was going to bring some marijuana with me. I had rolled up marijuana, and I had laced it with some other things of mine, and I intended to have a blast. But we were on Singapore Airlines, and as we were approaching Singapore, they made an announcement that, welcome to beautiful Singapore, and the penalty for trafficking in drugs is death. Thank you. So at that point, I sat, and I went to the restroom, and I took those, and I rapidly tore them up and flushed them down, and flushed them down, and flushed them down. Now I was really vexed, because now I don't have what they call the get high. I'm in a place that I don't want to be, and it was a place that, while there was an abundance of spirit, a wealth of spirit, there was a paucity of material wealth. And so that was something that bothered me. And then at that time, there wasn't a covered man there, area there. You sat out in the dirt or in the sand. And I would see Baba come out, and I looked and I said, this guy's a charlatan. And I said, and my two sisters are sitting here, they are hypnotized by this guy. I compared him to Reverend Ike. And I said, you know something? This character, all these people are here worshiping him, and I saw people actually trying to kiss his feet. And I said, you know something? I should slap him. Now, as soon as he comes over this way, if he steps over this way, so help me God, I should go up there and slap the daylights out. Only 10 people get up, I'll knock them out too. Such as the thoughts. And then he was coming out, and the people were begging, oh, please. And I was sitting there with absolute disdain. And then he stopped about as far from me as I am from maybe the person in the third row here. And there's other people sitting there. And he said, you, come. So I looked around. I didn't know who he was talking about. And he said, no, come. So here was my big chance. I came up to him, and he looked at me, and he said, you have many evil thoughts. And I was saying, he's got the place bugged. Suffice it to say, I'm not going to go into the details of that interview right now because I want to move ahead. But I will tell you, I went to the interview room. He materialized some things, and I was looking under his sleeve to see if he had, because I didn't believe it. And he materialized a liquid and rubbed it on my stomach. Worked well. But to make a long story short, I saw him create jewelry that had no hasp in it, and then take it and try to put it over someone's head. Sometimes I confuse my first interview with the second, but when it didn't fit over the person's head, he looked and he said, he stretched it and it got bigger in front of my eyes. And it was like amazing. I'll say this, that from the night before I left in 1988, I sat with a friend of mine whose name will be anonymous, and we smoked and really got high. After coming back from India, I never touched any drugs again. Never. And I wasn't seeking a cure. There was a miracle that took place. And that was 1988, and this is 2014.
I thank you. Okay. With that, we are always very grateful for everything. And of course, we know who Baba is. And for that, we want to start with our first song, Great Gratitude, Debt of Gratitude. This is a song for you to convey my sense of gratitude. You give me everything I need, and no matter where I go, I know you'll take care of me. My Lord, because of people's cruelty, I had never thought very much of me, but filled me with a healthy pride by healing me with love and always being by my side. Oh, my Lord, sigh, I am grateful every day. The debt I owe, I know I can't repay. You've given me much more music than I can say. And so, see, this is the pray. Sigh, if there's something I can do. I know I owe a debt of gratitude. I love you so much more than I can say. And so, to sigh, I pray. People always act surprised when I express how much I love my side. But they cannot begin to see how many times he had to pick me up and carry me. Oh, my Lord, they may never understand because they can only see you, my Lord, as a man. But maybe that is just their fate. They don't realize
that you are love incarnate. Oh, my Lord. Sigh, I am grateful every day. The debt I owe, I know I can't repay. You've given me much more than I can say. And so, to sigh, I pray. Sigh, if there's something I can do. I know I owe a debt of gratitude. I love you so much more than I can say. And so, to sigh, I pray. Sigh, I am grateful every day. The debt I owe, I know I can't repay. You've given me much more than I can say. And so, to sigh, I pray. Lord, sigh, if there's something I can do. I know I owe a debt of gratitude. I love you so much more than I can say. And so, to sigh, I pray. And so, to sigh, I pray every day. To sigh, I pray. Sorry.
It's okay.
Is there a way to get?
Thank you.
Is there a way to get music that comes through here? Yes.
We just couldn't hear it. That's all. I'm so sorry.
We were hearing it from.
What we're going to do is, because this is our shorter session, we're just going to do some music, if that's okay for you, and then we'll probably culminate with this, with one last story. Okay? So we'll go to our second song, because I'll tell you something.
Sorry.
Every day, as I get older, every day I reflect on my life and what I'm really doing and how I'm doing it. I'm really trying to get the mind and the soul and the deed in sync. And I know that by reading Baba's Vahini, he said, if you give everything to me, I have to take care of you. He's obligated. So I give him everything. And at this time, I would like for us to sing
Destination Love. However, in line with what the theme of the retreat is about,
Yes.
Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam, if we keep our minds on Swami,
Yes.
he will bring us back to the final destination,
Yes.
which is back to him. We come from love, we go to love. And there are many ways for that transformation to take place. And of course, we like to use music. So
Here we are.
Destination Love.
Destination Love.
Sorry. Music through here. That's it.
We're going to get it together,
We're
I
gonna
promise.
get it. It's okay. It's just.
Trying to stay within it.
Okay, now can we start it? Okay. Okay. Side arm, yes. Oh, you
Okay,
want us to
good.
sing?
That's good.
Yes,
That's good.
fine.
We can hear
That's
that.
good. We can hear it. That's fine.
That's great. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Destination Love it is.
Sorry. Since the beginning of creation, you have been my destination. Oh, sigh, my journey starts and ends with you. And yet it seems along the way I got distracted, but today I finally know which path I must choose. Because throughout eternity, oh my son, you have always been my destiny. Why so long? And after so much time, I have come to find that the only obstacle to being one with you is my mind, only my mind. Just a little more music.
Music.
Just music a little more.
Great. I adore your many forms, yet I abhor the many wrongs, oh Lord, that have cleverly been done in your name. We all say that you are love, so what can we be thinking of when we play hateful, cruel, and vicious games? Because throughout eternity, oh my son, you have always been our destiny. Why so long? And after so much time, my Lord, I have come to find that the only obstacle to being one with you is my mind, only my mind.
It seems throughout the recorded time, you've told us, seek and ye shall find a way to finally get back home to you. For we've a rendezvous
to oneness with you. Because throughout eternity,
Oh, my son,
you have always been our destiny.
my soul, Lord,
And after so much time,
my
that the only obstacle to being one with you is our minds. Because throughout eternity, oh my son, has always been our destiny.
my soul, Lord,
And after so much time, to find that the only obstacle to being you are Thank you so very much. I don't know how much time we have. What do we have here?
13 minutes.
About 13 minutes. Well, let me just tell you something. The next song is one that really knocks us out. So we're going to take our time with it. Because there was a lesson that Baba sent universally out a few years back. And we really took it to heart because it is so true. It's simply God is. God is. And to us, God is everytheverything. And this will be our last song. Okay? And I think we better stand for this.
I think so.
Because this one sort of takes the breath out. Well, we have 10
Okay.
more?
Oh.
Golly. Let's see.
Okay.
Maybe,
So-
should we tell a story or should we do the song? Story? Story, okay. Well, there is a story about these earrings here.
Okay.
That's why we took our time and put them on the stage, because they were a special gift. So why don't you tell that story?
Okay, yes. In 1989, we went to see Swami, and we were called in. That was the time when basically we were expecting an interview because Swami told Warren in 88, I want to see your sisters next time, okay?
Tomorrow it was.
Miss Fuss Fuss.
Yes, tomorrow, he
Tomorrow.
said. But Swami's tomorrow.
Okay. We were waiting, and basically, Audrey kind of got upset, I believe, during that time. You said, I'm not coming back here. He's going all around this way and that way, and he's not choosing he's on the men's side, he's not choosing the women, he's not doing this. And the next day, we were called in for interview, okay? Swami basically, I'm going to jump forward. We'll explain that interview later because he said, I want to see you separately tomorrow. Now, I thought about the tomorrow that he told Warren about. And I thought to myself, perhaps it's not going to be tomorrow. And but I will get dressed anyway. I'll get dressed in a nice sari and I'll come. I sat. Swami came out. He came along the woman's side. He walked by me. He came along the men's side. He went and he picked a group from Singapore. He picked a group from Italy. And I was there literally about to break into tears because I had really, really I even put my hand on his leg and said, Swami, tomorrow in the interview. And that's a different story. That's in the interview prior. And all of a sudden I see a lady coming out from the veranda. This was Mataji, we called her at the time. I don't know how many people know of Mataji, the Mataji, okay, when she was there. She was she was very strict, yes. And all of a sudden she's looking all around in the crowd, and she looks over and she says, "Are you from New York?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Come, Swami wants to see you." Okay, so I come into the room, and the whole room is full. It's full. I'm trying to squeeze down in the back near the door because the two huge groups from Singapore and Italy have already seated themselves. And all of a sudden, Swami says, he sees me trying to squeeze down in the back near the door, and he says, "You come here." So they, I guess, grudgingly part the way for me to come, and I was, as you can see, I'm not a small lady, and so they had to make room for me. And of course, Swami used to joke with me about this and tell me, he said, "You are very fat, in fact." He is the only one you would take that from and laugh and want more. Just keep talking to me. So I said, "Swami, yes, I know," and I sat. After a while, he started talking to different people about different things, and I had brought with me in a list of items that I wanted to ask God about. I wanted these questions answered. Because the day before, when we were in interview, the first thing Swami did was say, "Any questions?" Sit back in his chair. And no one really came prepared with questions except for Audrey, who asked for
The Bible.
an extant version of the Bible that was real. And what did Swami tell you?
He said, yes, Bible, good, but a little mixed up, good.
Yeah. So I came the next day prepared with a list of questions, from why do we have wars, why do we have plagues like AIDS at the time, and all kinds of things. And when I tried to ask Swami about these things, he said, "It's all here." And I looked at him, I said, "Yes, but Swami, I have this." He said, "It's right here. Everything is in my hand." Okay? And the third time, he said, "Everything is in my hands, Doubting Thomas." So I knew, stop asking. Everything is in God's hands. He will take care of everything. And as in line with our theme here, Manasa Bajare, if we keep our minds on him, he's going to take care of us. The earrings, yes. I will say this. He said to me, and he said to everyone in the room, because I'm trying to make it really brief, "She wants marriage very soon. I will give, I will give." And all of a sudden, he did his hand like that, and out came these beautiful earrings, which he gave to me. And he said, I started squeezing them, because I'm thinking to myself, all I want is to merge with you. All I want is God. The only entity on this planet that I have such a great abundance of love for is you. Of course, at that time I was new in the Sai organization and movement, and now we realize we are transforming ourselves so that we can love all people as we love Swami. And realize that we're all love incarnate. But Swami, I'm holding on to this, and he says, don't squeeze. He says, be gentle, diamonds. And so I reluctantly, I let loose my grip, and there is a subsequent story that goes along with these earrings and the whole marriage thing, which we'll talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
So the earrings came first, then a ring. Okay. But maybe we want to do the last song?
Oh, we'll do the last song. We have about 10 minutes? Okay.
If you want to, unless you
There
want to
have been
tell.
several interviews, and you know, Sometimes if you don't write everything right down, because there was ring given, she has the ring there, and I know she's going to talk about that tomorrow. But I think we'll do our...
She'll talk more extensively about it tomorrow. I just want to say the next song really typifies the feeling I know that I was overcome with when I left there, and my two sisters lived every day. This song, God Is. Think about that word is. It means He exists. He is. He's here.
Okay. Number 7, I think it is. God is my protection. God is my all and all. God is my light in darkness. Oh, my sigh is God is He is my all and all. God is my joy in the times of sorrow. God is my all and all. God is my today and tomorrow. God, my sight is He is my all and all. God
You're kind. You're very kind. We love Baba and we love you guys. And we're so grateful.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam, I just want you to know that when we walked in this auditorium today, we had to say, Baba, you are the doer. Because when I arrived in the hotel, I was just hoarse, and I had to send for antibiotics. And my sister was catching what I was catching, so stay back, but no. And I said to him when we came, I said, listen, you are the doer. We're the only puppets, we're the puppets. So it's all his grace. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
For me to even be standing here.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted
sister-
to say that.
I had recently
Yes.
2 back surgeries, 2 spinal surgeries.
And
And I didn't even know if I could make it without the walker. I said, Swami, I'm going to try this week with just the cane. And he brought me through with the cane, and here I am standing.